Today is a momentous day in Outlast lore history. Today we were greeted with the first trailer for the third game in the Outlast franchise titled The Outlast Trials. We've been covering the Outlast franchise on the channel for a while, so I thought it prudent to cover the updated information we now have on the game in a video all its own. So strap in and here we go. Earlier today the Outlast Trials trailer released and we got a massive info drop on various sales websites and platforms, which gave us a bunch of new information about this game. Trials will be releasing somewhere in the year of 2021 and is confirmed for PC, but will most likely be featuring on the next generation titles in the form of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Red Barrels is returning to develop their third standalone Outlast game and their fourth Outlast project in total. The game is set to be a co-op survival horror, and from the scenes in the trailer that we have received, it is becoming more apparent how the co-op gameplay features may be working. However, let me start from the plot synopsis and we can explore what we actually saw in the trailer to compare the two and come up with the best idea of what this game is going to entail. Trials is set, and I quote, "In the Cold War, unwilling volunteers have been recruited by the Murkoff Corporation to test new methods of brainwashing and mind control. Work alongside your friends in a world of distrust, fear and violence, and attempt to survive the Outlast Trials. Because your freedom ends 2021 in the Outlast Trials." So from just this we get a whole lot of what this story will pertain to. Trials is going to be set during the era of human history known as the Cold War, which is a span of time from about 1947 all the way up until about the 1980s and 90s. This was a time of government conspiracies and dark sinister plots against other world governments and even the people living under the homeland governments themselves. Interestingly enough though, we know for a fact that after the Second World War, a lot of Nazi scientists in the Outlast universe were saved and brought to the US for their intellect and ingenuity. However, what they were tasked with doing was something dark indeed. We know in the lore of the games that the Murkoff Corporation worked heavily with a secret government CIA initiative known as Project MK Ultra. Murkoff's main goal in this was to create a ready host for their fabled Wall Rider swarm technology, and the CIA wanted to find new methods of brainwashing and mind control. I have already made a full video about this, so I would suggest going and watching my full history of the Murkoff Corporation video if you want all the details on this, and details on Project MK Ultra, which actually was a real project in the US during the Cold War. It's likely that this game will be set somewhere between 1947 and the 1990s. One fact that can confirm this is the existence and use of the night vision headset that is seen being strapped to test subjects during the trailer. These night vision goggles were first developed around the 1940s by the Germans during the Second World War, and so that locks down the very earliest that the game can be taking place. And I would guess that the latest the game can be taking place is around the 1980s, when Project MK Ultra was all but dissolved due to the public's inquiry into the dark doings of the United States government around this time. However, what helps narrow it down further is the record that is seen playing during the trailer. This track is titled "Is It Just a Game?" and was released by the band Buddy and the Fads in June of 1958, and the specific record player that was used to play it was popularised during the 1960s, so we can now estimate that the time frame is anywhere from June 1958 at the earliest and the 1990s at the very latest. From the room and the scientists shown in the trailer we can't glean much, but the immediate feel harkens back to that atmosphere and setting of the first Outlast game and its DLC Whistleblower, which I think fans are really going to love. So we have the time frame of the game, but where is it set? Well, it is very possible that the game could be taking place within the facility known as Mount Massive Asylum, however I would tend to think not. Around the time that Murkoff Corporation took control of Mount Massive, they had already severed ties with MK Ultra and had not much to do with these mind control or brainwashing technologies, and more so wanted to focus on their Wall Rider. This took place at the end of the 1980s and was moving out of the Cold War as the American people became wise to what was going on behind the curtain. They only moved to Mount Massive Asylum after these events as a way to collect and subsidise their efforts. So with that, I believe this game will take place in a new location that is somewhat familiar. I think due to the entire premise of these unknown mind control experiments, that the location where these experiments are taking place has been tailored for the specific conditions needed for the experiments by Murkoff, and likely the CIA project. In terms of the outer universe explanation, I think Mount Massive wouldn't work very well for a multiplayer game. As the claustrophobic one-direction layout of the game's map progression, I don't think would be very good for the type of layout required for multiple people running around in the same area attempting to escape new Outlast antagonists. So I think the new location would be a welcomed addition for both lore and gameplay's sake. And from what we do get in the trailer, it appears that it is a hospital, as we can see that the hallway does resemble somewhat of the asylum, or the medical areas of the asylum. The doors have those elongated vertical window frames, and you can also see a bunch of wheelchairs knocked over around the hallway as the character runs away from one of our new enemies. After we see the test subject in the trailer have his headset attached, the scientists then move to act accordingly to the next lot of test subjects. These subjects, I suppose, would be the other players in the game with you, as this test would seem to be some kind of fight to the death or fight for survival. Or maybe they are simply trying to find out how well we can work together to survive the horrors of the test, or how far they are willing to go to backstab one another to make it out alive. As stated before, the actual aesthetic of the environment of the test area really does appear to replicate that of the asylum from the first game, so it's possible that this location is a hospital or a clinic of some kind, locked down for Murkoff's needs. And last but not least, let's talk about what we know about the enemies to feature in this game. While I believe your fellow players may take a chance at backstabbing, I think it's more likely that they will be willing to leave you for dead whilst attempting to escape from the clutches of these new antagonists seen within the trailer. We see one of the enemies within the trailer itself, and this enemy, like all of those I think we will come to see in the game, are also test subjects. I believe that these are test subjects that have succumbed to the brainwashing attempts from the apparatus strapped to each participant's head. We see this enemy with a headset of sorts on and something attached to their arms, likely having some influence on their actions and motives. It's likely these enemies were once normal test subjects, but due to their prolonged time within the experiment, have become twisted and moulded into dark versions of themselves, willing to do anything or follow any instruction in order to survive, and please the wishes of the experiment's evil controllers. As we get more information, I'll be sure to keep you all updated. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, subscribe and hit the bell notification if you never want to miss out on another upload from Project Archivist. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by becoming a channel member through the join button on the channel homepage. There is also a link in the description. And with that, that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.